Well, as they say in the classics, this is not the most exciting Mazda SUV in the world. This is just a tribute. For excitement, we're going to look over there. This is the all-new Mazda CX-60. What is it? How big is it? And how's it going to fit into your life? Well, let's find out. Well, set to launch early next year, the Mazda CX-60 will come in 3 powertrain variants. 2 3.3-litre inline 6-cylinder mild hybrid options, a petrol and a diesel, and this car, the range-topping 2.5-litre petrol plug-in hybrid.
For sizing context, the CX-60 sits about halfway between a CX-5 and a CX-8 in terms of overall length, but it's 50mm wider than both, which gives it a far more streamlined and sporty appearance. Crucially for passengers though, the wheelbase of the CX-60 is 170mm longer than that of a CX-5, and for context, only 60mm short of a CX-9. To see what the CX-60 is like on the road, you can read or watch Tom's first drive review of the car at its international launch in Portugal earlier this year.
Under here you've got that 4-cylinder 2.5-litre petrol engine, and that with the plug-in hybrid system. It's a 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery. The 2 power plants, when working in concert, means you've got 241 kilowatts and 500 newton meters. Now that is enough to make this the most powerful road-going Mazda ever produced. I honestly was pretty surprised to hear that in a family bus. I did a little bit of research just in case you're checking. All of the RX-7s are gentleman's agreement set at 206 kilowatts. Whether they did more or not, we'll never know. And the next lowest, I think, was around 204 kilowatts for the V6 CX-9. If you want to go for really high performance Mazdas, you can step up to, say, the 787B race car, which was around 670 kilowatts. So this one's got a fair way to go until it gets that. But in terms of cars with number plates, this one's got the title. Now, one thing that is quite interesting too, when I said before this has got a 3.3-litre inline 6-cylinder engines, inline 6s have kind of come back into favour, which is weird because for years we've been looking at more compact power plants in stubbier bonnets for more room inside. So to have such a long engine to fit in this car is surprising. But if you come and have a look at this, as we move the engine cover here, this is the 4-cylinder, and it is so far back in the car for weight distribution and safety. You could fit almost another one in front of it, so there is plenty of room for the inline 6 to fit in here, and certainly a really impressive engine bay when you have a look at it like this. Definitely not something I was expecting in the family bus. Let's take a look at the inside.
Before we go on, let's just recap some of the key numbers. The 3.3-litre turbocharged diesel engine offers 187 kilowatts and 550 newton meters. The 3.3-litre turbocharged petrol engine steps up to 209 kilowatts and 450 newton meters. Both of the inline 6-cylinder options are paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system too. The plug-in hybrid combines a 2.5-litre 4-cylinder petrol with a single electric motor for a combined output of 241 kilowatts and 500 newton meters, a high point for any Mazda production car. Running on the 100 kilowatt electric motor alone, the 17.8 kilowatt-hour battery offers a driving range of up to 76 kilometres without using any petrol.
All right, well up here, typical Mazda cockpit, and that's not such a bad thing. You've got twin 12.3-inch displays here. This is the latest iteration. It has a couple of cool tricks which we'll show you in a second. Otherwise, being a range topper, this car has got kind of all the things you'd expect. I've got heated and ventilated seats, I've got a heated steering wheel, I've got a mobile phone charge pad, nice easy buttons to see and use, no kind of weird fumbly touch surfaces, big tick again there Mazda for some nice usability. You've got some really nice elements that have come, so there's a bamboo-y wood here for the main console, but a lovely stitched fabric dashboard up the top. Now this is part of the Takumi pack that is on top of the Azami, so you can accessorize the car to a reasonably high level, or if you look lower in the range you may miss out on some of these, but it is nice to see some of these elements go through. Now in terms of technology, everything's here. We haven't driven the car yet here in Australia, but I can see all of the features here for the modern driver assistance systems that we know and want in the market, certainly at this level. But there is one cool thing. If I press the camera button here, rather than the standard 360 surround view that we're seeing in a lot of cars, you've got what is called the transparent camera. So it's a far wider view initially off the mirrors to show you if there is something down in the front quarter of the car that you wouldn't see either from a top-down view or from the windscreen. But it remembers where you've driven to. So if you have left your shopping or your wallet or your phone, heaven forbid, on the ground near the garage and you roll forward or backward, it remembers what you've driven over and it will show you underneath the car. We'll illustrate that in more detail when we're actually out there driving. But for now, the spec of the CX-60 certainly looks impressive. Right, well, in the back, first thing you notice, there is a lot of room back here. I am 6'3", I'm not a small person, I'm pretty clumsy. This seat is in my driving position. If you don't believe me, feel free to add a comment below and question where I am, but this is from me sitting here. I have got a stack of knee room. I've got a huge amount of toe room, and I'll get on that one in a second. A lot of knee room, my thighs are sitting on the bench. It's pretty comfy back here. Now, one thing of modern Mazdas that we've seen on a lot of the models, even on the BT50 Ute, the leather quality and the softness is really, really nice. CX-60 is no exception. It's a really, really comfortable bench, feels very supportive, feels pretty airy and comfy. Now, in terms of other amenities and things that you get back here, remembering this is a top spec car, large panoramic sunroof, and you can see my hair is still pretty clear of that, so that's a good thing. There are heated seats on both outboard ones here. You've got vents, USB-C ports, another mains style power adapter back here, a central armrest with cup holders, and kind of enough for a good and comfortable journey. Now, one thing I will notice, and I said before, I've got a lot of tow room here. In a lot of recent cars that we've driven, electrics and plug-ins particularly, manufacturers are putting the batteries under the floor, and what that does is it basically lifts the floor height up so they can fit them there. But what that does is it reduces your amount of tow space. No such thing here in the CX-60 because the battery's underneath the seat bench. The one downside of that, and it's probably because I am big, old and clumsy, is there is a bit of a lip that you have to step over as you get in the car, and I seem to fumble it every time. But for children, or if you're a little bit more mobile than I am, you'll be fine. But it is a really, really good placement of the battery pack, and it means that you've got the ability to stretch out here on long trips and not have your feet kind of getting jammed under there from the driver. So big tick on that side. Back here at the boot, 477 litres of space. For context, the CX-5 has 438 litres, so it is considerably up on that. It's a power tailgate on this, the top spec Azami, but being the plug-in hybrid, you've also got a high current draw vehicle to load outlet here, so you can run the coffee machine or whatever, wherever you go. And it is one of the benefits that you find out of a plug-in hybrid. So for a first look on local soil at the all-new Mazda CX-60, it looks pretty good. In terms of price point, the range starts at just under $60,000 for the Evolve. You can get a petrol, a diesel, or a plug-in hybrid in any of the three trim grades. The cheapest version of the plug-in hybrid is around $72,000 before options and on-roads. The Azami top spec car is $73,500 before options, but this car, as you see it here today, top spec with the PHEV drivetrain is about $85,500 before options and on road. So it's certainly more premium than where we've seen Mazdas in the past, but that's part of what Mazda is trying to do with the brand. And I tell you what, on the inside, with the features, the comfort and the quality that we see, it's definitely moving up in the world and has come a long way since the Tribute of 20 years ago. So while that may just be the Tribute, could this be the greatest Mazda SUV in the world? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you have liked this clip, hit like, hit subscribe, head on over to Drive.com.au for all the details, all the pricing, all the spec on the full CX-60 range. And stay tuned for when we get our hands on this to drive on local roads early in the new year.